Hey there, drone fans. Rick here again from Drone Valley. Well, today is another incredibly exciting day here at the shop because DJI just announced two brand new products in their Power series, the Power 500 and the Power 1000. Now, these aren't drones, they're not action cameras, and they're certainly not stabilized gimbals. They're an entirely new category for DJI. They're power stations. And these are perfect portable power solutions to take with you out in the field to charge and operate all of your thirsty digital devices whenever you're away from home. So if you're heading out for a camping trip, or maybe you're on a long road trip with the family, or you're a camper person, or you like to have power in your house in case you lose power occasionally, both of these will fit that bill. Now I'm going to get into all the features they provide in a minute because one of the things I really like about DJI is that they're constantly thinking, they're constantly innovating, coming up with new features and functions in their products that nobody else provides. And I've reviewed a lot of portable power stations, and I can tell you the technology has changed dramatically in the last couple of years, and DJI has incorporated all of the major innovations that have happened in that space over the last 2 years into both of these products. But it doesn't stop there, because their brilliant engineering team thought about it and said, can we build power stations that help to charge drone batteries a little bit faster? Can we build them to be a little bit more flexible about how you can charge them, how you can use the power once they're charged? And they've really built some incredibly cool features into both of these products that I'll get into in a minute. I can promise you, if you're flying a drone, whether it's the MT-30 or the Inspire 3, the Mavic 3, the Air 3, there isn't a power station on the market today that will charge those batteries faster than these two will. And I'll explain why that's true in a minute. But anyway, I want to start off this review with a really quick unboxing just to show you everything that's included with both of the power stations. And then I'll give you the basic specifications for both so you understand exactly what they provide. And then I'll dive into the features because, again, most portable power stations on the market are pretty basic units. You got to figure out how to charge them. You got to figure out what kind of battery technology is inside them to hold that charge. And then how do you use that charge out in the field to charge and operate your external devices? And all three of those are really important. So I'm going to go through those individually and sort of explain why DJI, in my opinion, has made the right choice on all three of those different segments with both of these units. All right, so let me get through the unboxing because I'm so excited to talk about the tech. So when you open up the box, the first thing you'll find is an AC charging cord. It's a heavy duty cord. It's got a 3-prong on the one end. You'll plug that into a wall outlet. The other end of it plugs into the unit. Now, you might already be wondering, Rick, where's the charging brick? Why is there no charging brick? Well, you don't need a charging brick. And that's the first little secret about both of these units. DJI has taken that charging brick, that technology that converts the AC in your home to DC that you use to charge most other portable power stations, and built it in the unit. And there's a ton of advantages by doing that. I'll get into all that in a minute. So you get an AC cord. You also find 3 manuals inside the box. There's a quick start guide, there's a warranty guide, and then there's also a safety guide. It's really important you read through these because even though these are incredibly intuitive products to use, you plug them in, you charge them, take them out in the field and use the power, you want to read through the manual so you understand all the other benefits that both of these products provide. So as boring as that sounds, read through the manual, it's going to do you some good. All right, so let me talk about the two units and I'll start with the Power 500. This unit has 512 watt hours of internal energy, and it can provide up to 1,000 watts of external charging and operating capabilities. The larger unit, the Power 1000, is double the size. It has 1,024 watt hours of internal capacity and can provide 2,200 watts of external charging and operating capabilities. Now, where would you use these two? This one is portable. It's 13 pounds, it's about 28 pounds. This is perfect for a couple of days of camping, or maybe you're taking a long road trip with the family and the kids are in the back seat and they've got their whatever gadget they've got. They've got game consoles, a phone, a tablet, a laptop. You can use this in the car, throw a couple of cables in the back seat. You can charge anything you're bringing along for an afternoon of fun. It's also great if you're a camper, maybe you're an RVer, or you've got a campsite you want to go to. It's great for that. It also works well in the house. So if you lose power and you need power, an additional power source for a couple of hours, this will do the job to charge your phones, your tablets, and run a couple of appliances around the home. If you need more power than that, the Power 1000 is probably a better choice. This is great as a backup source in your home. If you have one of those, if you live in one of those areas where you lose power occasionally because of storms and power lines going down, this will give you 2,200 watts of external power, which means you can run your refrigerator on it, you can run some small appliances on it. There are plenty of ports and power to charge your phone, your tablet, your laptop, anything you need this is the unit to go with. Now, the consideration really comes down to cost and weight, right? This one is double the weight, a little more than double the weight. So if you're heading out on a camping trip or you're flying your drone for an afternoon, this one's perfect because you can pick it up, 13 pounds, it's got a nice handle on the end of it, drag it out in the field with you, and then recharge your batteries multiple times, and I'll get into that in a minute, but multiple times with this unit while you're flying your drone. So you could essentially stay out there all day and fly with a couple of batteries because you're constantly rotating them through the charger. With this one, it's a little bit heavier. So if you're in an RV, pop it in the RV, it's going to give you plenty of power. Or if you're going to a campsite for a week or more, probably a unit you want to bring along. Or if you've got a lot of things you want to operate when you're out there camping. Maybe you've got, I don't know, you've got a cooler, you've got a couple of fans, you've got a couple of lights, you want to charge a bunch of digital gear. This is probably the one to go with. But the choice is yours. Again, 512 watt hours of internal, 1024. They're both powerful. They share a lot of common features. Now, let me get into some of the stuff that makes this special. So for starters, you're going to have to charge the unit. Both of these units provide multiple ways to charge them. It comes with an AC cord. Now, the reason you only have the AC cord, no external brick, and I'd mentioned that at the beginning, that external brick is essentially a converter technology that'll turn the AC in your home to DC that charge most of those portable power stations. And the problem with that external brick, there's a couple of problems. The first one is it's wildly inefficient. So you're wasting a lot of energy in that conversion process. It also doesn't provide a lot of control over the DC that's hitting that power station internally. Most power stations just take the DC, fire it right at the batteries. They can't really condition it. They can't monitor the batteries. So it's a really not a great way to be charging a power station. The big disadvantage more than anything is that because it's so inefficient, it takes forever to charge those other power stations. You might, with a similar size power station, have to wait 3-4 hours to charge it. So what DJI did was they built that conversion circuit inside of both of these units. So you basically plug them into the wall, and the circuit that converts the AC in your home to DC is inside the unit. So number one, you eliminate that power brick, which again could become defective down the road and you can't find one. So all that's gone. All you've got is an AC cord, but the big advantage is the fact that they can control the efficiency of that conversion on both of these units, which means a couple of things. Number one, you're not wasting energy charging them, but the most important thing is it allows you to quickly charge both of these units. So either one of these, you can get to 100% charge in about 70 minutes. Now think about that. If you've got another power station with an external brick and you're waiting 3 hours to get out the door and the kids are dressed, the car's packed, the wife's ready, and you're in the kitchen watching the thing 81%, 82%, 83%, it takes you hours to charge it. With these, you could really plug them in, go get a cup of coffee, come back, and they're going to be fully charged, and then you're on your way to your vacation. So the quick charge aspects of it's really important. Another cool thing about both of these products is that they have power through technology. And what I mean by that is you plug this into the wall, it's charging the unit. Maybe you've got a phone or a tablet or an action camera you're taking on the vacation that isn't charged as well. You don't need another charger. Just plug it into the front on a USB port and the power comes through the unit. It'll charge the internal batteries off that one outlet and charge the external devices at the same time. That's pretty cool. So you've got kind of the Swiss Army knife of charging right there in your kitchen counter where you can plug all your digital gear into it, go get that cup of coffee I talked about a minute ago. You come back, most of it's going to be fully charged at that point. So the charge through technology is important. Another thing these provide is what's called an uninterruptible power supply, which means if you plug this into the wall and plug your computer and your digital gear into the front of it, it's actually feeding power through the unit all the time. But if you lose power in your home, this immediately springs into action. In less than 0.02 seconds, it immediately says, uh-oh, there's no power coming in. Let me start the batteries up and supply power. So your computers don't go through a reboot. You don't have any crashing of your hard drives or your NAS drives. Whatever you've got plugged in will stay running through that power outage. And most power outages aren't like blink out and stay out for 5 hours. You might get a brownout. This will cover up that brownout. So a lot of advantages there in the charging. Now, in addition to the AC, you can also charge it in your car. They offer an external charging kit where you can plug it into one of the SDC ports up front and charge it in your car. Now, I will caution you, when you charge it in your car, don't just plug it in your car in the driveway and then hope for the best, because it's pulling electrons out of your car battery, right? So you typically want to charge it from your car when you're driving, because then your alternator is generating DC, so you don't want to kill your battery. But you can charge it in your car and, you know, it'll charge up really nice. I do that when I'm heading out to a campsite. So for example, if I forgot to charge my portable power station the night before and everybody wants to get out the door, I'll put it in the car, plug it into my outlet, and then charge it in the car. The cool thing, the DC works through it as well. So if I plug it into the car, I've still got that charging capability for the kids. The third way you can charge them is with a solar panel. So you can set up a portable solar panel outside your tent. There's a DC conversion kit available from DJI for both of these for that as well. You plug the solar panel into that MPPT kit, plug it into the unit, and you can charge it with nothing more than sunlight. Think about that. You're drinking in that beautiful sunlight at the campsite. The solar panel's turning it into DC power. The MPPT circuit is turning it into regulated power, and you're charging the internal batteries with nothing more than sunlight. That's my favorite way to charge it because it's free, and that's amazing. So those are 3 ways you can charge it. There's actually a 4th way with the Power 500. Those USB-C ports on the front of the unit are bidirectional, which means they'll supply DC power out of the unit to charge your external devices like a phone or a tablet or anything that charges off USB. But you can also use those as input ports where you can connect a 100-watt charger at the wall outlet, plug it in through a heavy-duty cable, and actually charge the internal batteries from that external charger. Now, it's not going to be quick because you're only supplying 100 watts of charging power, but it's an alternative you can use. So here you can use AC, DC, solar, and you can use the USB-C port. Over here, it's just AC, DC, and solar. And the reason is because it's gigantic, right? It would take you probably a day to charge it off of a 100-watt wall charger, but it's a nice option over here on the Power 500. All right, so let's talk about the battery technology because the battery technology inside is extremely important because you've figured out how to charge it. That charge has to reside somewhere. It has to be sort of saved somewhere. So the battery chemistry in portable power stations and all portable electronics over the last couple of years has gone through a lot of changes. Now, one of the most common ones on the market today is called lithium polymer technology, which is okay technology. It's used in a lot of laptops and phones and other devices. The challenge with lithium polymer technology or chemistry is that, number one, it can only be charged a given number of times. So you can only get a couple of 100 charges and discharge cycles out of a lithium polymer cell. The bigger problem for portable power stations is that it doesn't tolerate temperature variance very well. So in hot weather or cold weather, it doesn't operate well. You can't charge it when it's hot. You can't charge it when it's cold. Its performance drops when you get to those extremes. It's also not the safest technology. So there have been a lot of innovations introduced over the last couple of years. Lithium iron phosphate was introduced. This one's based on a lithium ferrous phosphate, which is some of the newest technology on the market. And the advantage of those newer technologies are that they provide a larger charging cycle, which means you can charge them quicker without damaging them. They also hold the charge longer. So if you charge it on a Monday, you want to leave on a trip on a Friday, the charge is still at 100%. The lithium polymer technology decays over time, so you charge it on a Monday, by Saturday it's down to 60%. So in general, the battery technology in here is the latest and greatest. It provides quick charging, safe charging, long charge retention, and more importantly, well over 3,000 charge cycles. Now think about that in terms of math. If you were to charge these once a day, because you're like me and you fly your drone a lot, I'm charging them every day, that's 10 years plus of charging cycles. And you know you're not going to charge them every day. So if you charge them a couple times a week, you could keep this thing for 20 years. And that's important because the battery chemistry inside the unit really governs how long this unit's going to be functional. Because if you buy one that's got lithium polymer cells in it, maybe you're going to get 3 or 4 years out of it, and then the batteries are bad, and you can't change the batteries. They're inside the unit. All right, so we understand the charging. We understand the battery chemistry. I think DJI, again, has made some really smart choices in the way the units are charged and the chemistry that holds that charge. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. You have to deliver that charge externally to devices to make use of the product, right? So if you're thinking about how do I charge my phone, my tablet, my laptop, my drone batteries, my camera, whatever it happens to be, there's really 3 ways to do that. AC, which is just like in your home, DC, which is just like in your car, or USB. And I'll start with the AC first. So if you look at these units, you've got multiple AC ports on the front. They're both 3-prong outlets on that one. And on this one, you've got 2 3-prong outlets right there as well. So those AC ports will provide energy just like in your home. Anything you plug in your home, you can plug in there. Just be aware of the fact that, again, maximum of 1,000 watts over here, maximum of 2,200 watts over here. The cool thing about the AC outlets, though, is you can use them for anything. So you can plug in a lamp, you can plug in, I don't know, a cooler, you can plug in a charger for your laptop, whatever you want to plug in, you can plug in there and use it. So the AC is in really good shape. The DC is a little bit tricky in these units. I'll save that till the end because it's a magical thing that you really need to understand a little bit, and that's one of the major innovations that these products provide, because most portable power stations on the market, as far as DC, which is 12 volts at up to 10 amps, is the circular thing you see in your car. So you've got that cigarette lighter adapter in your car. Most portable power stations in the market have one of those, and you'll notice there isn't one on these units. Now you might be thinking, why didn't they put that in there? That would have been a good thing. They took it a step further, and I'll explain that in a minute. So you can get that kind of outlet, but you'll need an adapter, and DJI offers an adapter. If you care about that kind of thing, maybe you've got something you're plugging into your car that you want to plug into these, you got to pick up that adapter. You'll plug it into one of these SDC ports, or the SDC port over there. That converts the DC on that SDC port into 12 volts at up to 10 amps. You can use it. The reason it's not on there, well, let me save that a minute. Let me talk about the USB first, because I'm really blown away by this SDC connection. All right, so on the front of the unit, you'll see 4 ports on both of the units that are USB ports. Now, USB as a standard is really one of 2 different styles of USB connections. USB-A, which is the older, larger one, and USB-C, which is the smaller, newer one. Now, the newer one is used on all the latest devices, so drone batteries, cameras, phones, tablets, pretty much anything you bought in the last couple of years is probably charging through a USB port. But USB-A is still pretty popular as well. You have a choice of either of those on the front of the unit. There are 2 USB-A ports and 2 USB-C ports. So from a physical connectivity perspective, you've got plenty of choice there. So anything you're charging at home off a USB charger, you can charge off of both of these units. Now, where it gets a little interesting is when you talk about a quick charge standard. There are 2 quick charge standards on the market. There's a QC standard, which is quick charge, developed by Qualcomm. That's available on both the USB-A ports. Then there's the second standard, which is PD, or power delivery. That's available on both of the USB-C ports. So you've got not only USB-A, but USB-C connections. You've also got quick charge capabilities and PD capabilities on the unit. Now, where it gets really interesting, though, is that between those 2 sets of ports, that quick charging technology is smart enough that when you plug a device into the port will actually interrogate that device. It'll figure out what the current charge level is of whatever you've plugged in. If it's a quick charge device and you've plugged it into a USB-A port, it'll handshake and it'll start charging that device with a certain voltage and current that it can change. So it can actually vary that during the charge cycle. So immediately starts to fill it up really quick. When it gets to 50%, it'll tip off a little bit. Gets to 75, it tips off a little bit more. So that first 95% of the charge will happen quickly. That last 5% can take a while because it wants to be careful as it's filling that up. And the analogy I like to use is when you think about sort of pouring a glass of milk at home, right? You can be very cavalier when you first dump the milk in, but as that cup starts to fill up, you start backing off a little bit because you don't want it to flow over the sides and all over the counter. That's kind of what quick charging technology is doing. So it's bursting a lot in the beginning, it's slowing down as it charges it. So QC does that, PD does it as well. They've got the latest PD standard in there, which is the 3.1 standard, which means on this one, it can supply up to 140 watts. I'm laughing because I can't believe it. 140 watts out of those USB-C ports. Over here, it's 100 watts. Now, why is that important? Well, because everything you care about that's big requires at least 60 watts, 100 watts, 120 watts. So if you're trying to charge a MacBook, you need a lot of power. You could charge it off of a 30-watt port, but it's going to be 2 days before it's fully charged. So knowing you've got 140 watts per USB-C port here and 100 watts per USB-C port over here means I can charge pretty much anything I take out in the field, and it's going to charge quickly and safely because the PD is going to recognize what it needs, and it's going to adjust the voltage and current to accommodate that. So the USB charging on this is really leading edge. It's state of the art. You're not going to find a lot of portable power stations that have the PD 3.1 standard that can deliver power up to 140 watts or up to 100 watts. So if it did nothing more than just that, these would be very, very valuable. But here's where it gets really interesting. When it comes down to the DC, what DJI decided to do is to say, you know what, we could put a 12 volt 10 amp port on there and people could use a power supply or some other external device to charge their drone batteries. Or yeah, you could charge your drone batteries off the USB-C ports. But why don't we build a specialized circuit called a battery management system that does a lot of things? Number one, it governs how the batteries are being charged. It's monitoring the health of the batteries. It can tell if it's got a cell that's underbalanced, if cell's going bad, if it's going to guarantee that you're not going to surge it too much and damage the batteries. It also watches the way that energy on the batteries is delivered to external devices. So the battery management system is very sophisticated. The one thing they built into this unit, both of these units, that no one else has, is they built in a custom DJI controller circuit that talks to your batteries. Because remember, DJI batteries have a controller inside of them that does the same thing for these batteries. They built a bigger one inside here. So that controller inside the battery understands exactly what charges on the cells. And when you connect this up to a charger, it negotiates with a hub or with that charger and slowly and safely charges these batteries. Well, wouldn't it be cool if instead of taking the DC inside, converting it to a USB-sized voltage and current, then converting it back to a voltage and current works here. Every time you do a conversion, you're losing energy. It's inefficient. Why wouldn't they just build a circuit that could flatter these batteries directly? Meaning, DC to DC. No AC involved, no conversion involved. And that's exactly what they did. So you'll find 2 ports on here that are labeled SDC and 1 port on here that's labeled SDC. Now, as hard as I tried, I couldn't figure out what that acronym stands for. I'm going to call it Special DC. I'm going to call it a Special DC port because it's custom. And what I mean by that is they make adapters. Here's one for the Mavic 3 batteries that plug directly into that port, and you can charge that battery from that port at an incredibly rapid pace. And when I say rapid, it charges, like I mentioned, the 4 different drones that are out now, and I'm sure they're going to come out with others, but the 4 that I mentioned already, whether I fly the Air 3 and I fly the Mavic 3 an awful lot, both of those drones, I can charge this battery 95% in about 30 minutes. And again, if you do the math on that, I can fly up to 43 minutes with the battery. It takes me 30 minutes to charge it. I can stay up in the air forever. I take this out in the field. I'm constantly charging the battery while I'm flying. I land the drone, I swap out the batteries, I put it back up in the air, swap out the battery. There's no end to it until I run out of power in the unit. So this is a brilliant move, and I'll show you how that works in a minute. But this directly charges the batteries. Here you've got ports for 2 of them where I can charge external batteries at the same time. I can still use the USB-C ports on the front as well because I got 2200 watts of external power here that I can use to charge a bunch of different things at the same time. So I've got a lot of power that I can use to keep things happy. Now, in addition to that, those ports can also be used as input ports. So if you're going to use something like the DC, here, let me show you what they'll look like. If you're going to use something like the DC connector for your car, I got one of those over here. It plugs into the SDC port and it plugs into your car. So you can throw electrons at it from a DC connection in your car. You can also get one of those adapters with the MPPT circuit built onto it that you can use to charge it from a solar panel. You can get one of those that converts one of the SDCs to a female 12-volt outlet, just like in your car. So all of those things are capable. But the brilliance, again, of DJI, and I know I use that word a lot when I talk about this company. I don't use it a lot when I talk about other companies. But the brilliance of this company is they're thinking about, look, I got a lot of drone flyers out there that are looking for a gigantic portable power station that can quickly charge their batteries. A lot of those power stations in the market can charge batteries, but they take an hour and 20 minutes. With this connection, I'm going DC to DC charging. It's safe, it's quick, it's efficient. You couldn't find a better battery charging system for your drone than these 2 units. Now let me show you how this works because there is a little bit of a difference between using the SDC circuit and using the USB ports on the front. So let's start off with this SDC adapter first. So I've got the Mavic 3 battery right here. I'll just pop it into the adapter and I'll plug this into one of the 2 SDC ports on the front. So let me open these up again. And it's keyed so you can't put it in wrong. So let me plug that in. And what you'll find is the minute you plug that in, the internal battery management system is now interrogating the battery. It's taken a second to figure out what it needs as far as the charge goes, and it's starting to charge it. Now here's the interesting thing. Watch the display. It'll show you how many watts it's using to charge the battery. I'm already up to 125, 146 watts. Think about that. 146 watts of energy is being fired at this battery safely because the battery management system's keeping track of what's going on. The battery's getting charged. With a standard charger, you can't push more than 65 watts. Now, if you have the high power charger for the Mavic 3, you can push 100 watts at it, but you're still at to 140 watts right there, which is 40% higher than you would charge it on a standard hub charging. Now, let me show you something else. I've got the hub somewhere over here. Oh, here it is. I got the hub right here. So let me just simulate the difference between the 2. All right, so let me disconnect this battery real quick so I'm not drawing any current at all out of the unit. It drops right back down to 0. I have the 60 watt hub right here, so let me plug that in. I'll use a high performance cable and I'll plug that into one of the USB-C ports on the front. Now again, those USB-C ports can provide up to 140 watts of charging power, but let me plug the hub in. Single battery. Let me put this guy out of the way for now. It's taking a second, it's interrogating the battery. The controller here is talking to the controller in here. And any second now it's going to start charging it and you'll see the current start to jump up. Okay, there we go. All right, so it's charging the battery. 65 watts of current, or 65 watts of power being fired at it. So again, do the math. 65 watts versus 140 watts. Which of the 2 do you think it's going to charge the battery quicker with? It's going to charge it with this. Now the cool thing is you can use all of these at the same time. So if I've got one battery out of my drone that I want to get back up in the air with, I'll plug it in there. Now the combined amount of power between both using the SDC adapter and using the hub is now up to, let's see, it should go up to about 180. I'm at 145, 150, 160, 170, 180. Wow, we're really going up. We're over 200 watts. So between the two, I'm drawing 200 watts out of the unit. This one's fast charging, this one's fast charging. But normally in the field, you would charge this on the SDC adapter, and if you really wanted to push it, you could pick up two of these adapters and charge two batteries at the same time with a lot of power coming out of the unit. So let's not stop there. Let's say you're out on a camping trip and you're charging your batteries and you're thinking to yourself, okay, well, somebody else is flying the Air 3. I've got that with me as well. Well, let me charge that. I'll plug another USB cable into the USB-C port on the front, and I'll plug that into the hub. Now, this is where most portable power stations fall apart because you're drawing too much current. Again, the hub is going to interrogate the batteries. This can charge at 100 watts of power. And it's already fast charging the batteries. And now we're up to 250, 255 watts of power coming out. Well, let's say it's getting a little bit dark in the afternoon and you want to set up a light. You happen to have a light with you. This runs on AC. So let me plug this into the AC circuit up front. Right there. And I got to turn the AC on. That's another advantage. It's got a separate button. So I'll turn that on. And the AC, oh, I didn't hit it hard enough. There we go. Okay, the AC is now on. And one little trick when you're camping, if you're going to use an incandescent light like this is actually an LED, but if you're going to use a light, try and find a fixture that has a dimmer on it, because at full brightness right there, it's drawing a lot of current. You don't need things that bright normally. Normally, when you're out camping, you can have a little lower light. You can see exactly what you need, but by having a dimmer, you can actually turn this down, and by turning that down, it's drinking less electrons, which means you can use this longer. So for me, about half brightness is where I need to be, but okay, so there's the AC. Just for kicks, let's turn it all the way up. All right, now we're up to, oh boy, we're almost approaching 300 watts. We're at 278 watts at that point. Well, let's say I've got my, I don't know, my DJI Mic 2 with me. So I want to charge that guy. I'll take another high-powered cable here. Uh-oh, I'm out of USB-C ports. What am I going to do? Well, I could use the USB-A ports to charge it, or maybe I've brought along an external charger like I use at home. Let me plug this in over to one of the ACs right here. Now I've got 3 more USB-C ports and a USB-A port because it's a 4-port charger that can handle 140 watts of external charging capabilities. But let me plug that guy in there. Hold on a second. I'll pick this bottom one just for kicks here, or the middle one. And I'll plug in my DJI Mic 2 on the back. There we go. All right, so that's charging. That's not going to draw as much current as these other guys. These are really thirsty. But I have my... I have my Pocket 3 with me. Let me charge that. I've got another high-powered cable right here, and I'll plug that into the second USB. You can see, I guess I'm really stretching this, but what you can see here is that this is a ton of stuff running at the same time. And maybe I've got a cooler I want to plug in. I can do that as well. I've got another SDC port right over here. All these things together are only drawing 300 watts of power out of the unit. This can supply up to 2,200 watts of external power. So maybe I've got a mattress inflator I need to use, or I've got a cooler, or I've got a waffle iron. I don't know. Don't use a waffle iron because it's probably more than 2,200 watts. But anyway, the limit is 2,200 watts over here, 1,000 watts over here. And you can see you can use multiple devices at the same time. I almost forgot. I have a controller I want to charge. I can use a standard cable with that. I don't need the heavy duty cable. So let me plug that one in down here. And you can see you can daisy chain, or not daisy chain, but split the output power. Boy, it's tough to plug that in at this distance. Hold on. There we go. You can actually use all of these things at the same time, which is pretty incredible. As long as you stay under the 2,200 watts, you're going to be perfectly fine. All right, there we go. So now I'm fast charging this. I'm fast charging all these other devices. I got a couple extra batteries here. Let me plug those into the hub just for kicks. So if you're out trying to fly your drone, what you've got in this unit is you've got a portable power solution that has the latest battery chemistry inside. It gives you multiple ways to charge that battery. And more importantly, when you're out in the field, it gives you multiple ways to use the energy that's stored inside that battery to charge and operate all of your thirsty portable devices. Not only that, but it's got the SDC ports on it, which is a custom port built by DJI to flatter your batteries, to charge these batteries incredibly quickly. This is going to get up to 95% of the charge in about 30 minutes. I can put it back in the drone and get back up in the sky. And again, as I'd mentioned before, you can fly longer than it takes to charge the battery. So I'm never going to have to worry about running out of battery power or sitting there waiting for a battery to charge. By the time the drone is ready to come down, the other battery is ready to be put in the drone and put back up in the air. So I think they built an incredibly cool solution. And again, a lot of portable power stations on the market may have the latest battery chemistry. They may have variable ways that you can actually charge the unit, and they might have multiple ports in the output. The things that really stand out about these two products are a couple things. Number one, the USB-C ports are 140 watts over here and 100 watts over here times 2. So I can charge a lot of really thirsty devices out of those ports. I can even charge a laptop. If you've got a MacBook, you can charge it off of one of those USB-C ports. But the really big difference if you're flying a drone like I do, you've got the SDC ports on here, which allow you to directly DC to DC charge your batteries quickly, safely, efficiently, and get back up in the air as quickly as possible. So all things being equal, I think DJI has built two portable power stations that fit the smaller market, the larger market, depending on your capacity needs. If you want one to take with you everywhere, this is a perfect fit. If you want one with a little bit more power that maybe you can use in your RV or your trailer or in your home if you've got power failures, go with the Power 1000. But for me, I look at both of these, and again, I've tested a ton of different portable power solutions. These two are designed specifically for drone flyers to flatter their batteries, but they're really designed for anybody that loves spending time outdoors, that has to bring along a lot of portable gear like cameras and phones and tablets, things you're going to use out there in the wild to capture some beautiful footage and take some amazing pictures. These will keep them running, and they're incredibly easy to use. And I just am blown away by how well DJI did with these products. So hopefully you found this review helpful. I love talking about this technology, and I promise you, I've got a lot more clips coming on these two products and a bunch of other products we've been reviewing. We've been so busy over the last couple of weeks. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button down there and join the Drone Valley family, because we have so many reviews coming that you're going to want to see. And also, if you have questions that you want to have answered about these products or anything we've reviewed on the channel, drop those in the comments below, and I promise to get back to you as quickly as I can, because the whole reason we started this channel was to review products so that you can understand if they make sense for your particular needs, and I want to make sure you get all the questions you have answered. So drop those in the comments below, and I'll do my best to answer them quickly. And that's it for today. So I think these products are amazing. You can tell I'm jazzed about them, and I've been using them for a couple of weeks, and they're flawless. So anyway, that's all I have for today. Thanks a lot for watching, and as always, until next time, happy flying.